Detroit woke up this morning to something most of us didn't want to face. First to 17 pick, middle of the pack, not quite high enough to grab that elite game changer, not quite low enough to feel like we overachieved. And I know exactly what's running through your head because it's been running through mine too. But stick with me here, because what I'm about to show you is going to completely change how you see this draft position and, more importantly, how you see the Lions' path forward. Welcome to Lions News Fan Report, where you're getting the latest updates, deepest analysis, and the exclusive insights on our beloved Detroit Lions that you won't find anywhere else. I'm bringing you inside the strategy, inside the numbers, and inside the decisions that will shape our franchise for years to come. Look, I'll be straight with you. When that season ended and we saw the 17 flash on the screen, it stung. It really did. We had Super Bowl aspirations coming into 2025. We had the talent, we had the coaching, we had everything aligned for deep playoff. And then we're sitting at home watching other teams where some fans wanted us tank down the stretch. Some wanted us to lose to Chicago in Week 18 just to jump up to Bushra 14. I get I really do. But here's where things get interesting, and this is where I need you to really lock in with, because the data I've been analyzing over the past week tells a completely different story than the disappointment narrative we're all feeling. Right. The draft is fast when you really dig into the history. Position matters, obviously, but it's not everything. And the 117 pick specifically has this unique characteristic that most fans don't realize until you actually map it out year by year, player by player, success by success, and yes, failure by failure. I've gone back through the last 5 draft exact position, and I'm going to walk you through each because by the time we get to the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why Brad Holmes and our entire front office need to be surgical with this, not panic, not surgical. Let me paint you a picture of what's actually available at the mid of 17. We're talking about a position where you can find Pro Bowler, you can find All-Pros, you can find franchise cornerstone, but you can also find complete bust, career backup, and players who don't make it past their rookie. The margin between hitting and missing at this spot is razor thin, and the teams that succeed are the ones that have done their homework, trusted their scouting, and, most importantly, stayed true to their board regardless of external. That's what separates championship organizations from perpetual rebuilders, and I believe the Lions are firmly in the championship organization category right now. Now, we need to talk about our biggest need heading into this draft, specifically getting Aiden Hutchinson some legitimate help on that. Hutch is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but even the best edge rush in NFL history needed qualification and legitimate threat the others to max impact. We saw what happened off scheme entirely. We need that complement. We need that guy who advantage went off away from our star. And that brings us to something that happened just last year that every Lions fan needs to understand, because it's a cautionary tale about what we should absolutely avoid doing with the 17 pick. The Cincinnati Bengals went defensive end at the 17 in the 2025 draft. They took Shamar Stewart. And before I get into what happened with Stewart, I want you to understand the context, why they made that. The Bengals were in a similar position to where we are now. They needed to boost their pass. They needed to complement their existence. They saw a talented defensive end still on the board, and they pulled it on paper. Stewart had the physical tools, college production. He checked the boxes. But here's where it gets complicated, and this is exactly why I'm bringing this up today. Stewart's NFL career started in the worst possible way. He held out, not for a few days, not for a week. He became the last 2025 first-round pick to sign his rookie contract, finally agreeing to terms on July 26. The issue wasn't about total money. It was about guarantee language in his rookie deal. Now you might be thinking that's just business. That's just an agent doing his job. And you'd be partially right. But what it showed was a disconnect between the players' camp and the organization from day one. That's a red flag. That's a warning sign that things might not mesh the way you'd hoped when you invested a first-round pick. But it gets worse. Stewart finally gets into camp late. He's behind learning the playbook. He's behind in building chemistry with his teammate. And then the injuries start piling up. Ankle injury, knee injury. In his rookie season, he only managed to play 8 games, starting just 5 of them. And when he was on the field, the production simply wasn't there. 1 sack, that's it. 1 single sack in his entire rookie campaign. For a first-round defensive end taken at 17, that's not just disappointing, that's alarming. The Bengals are now sitting there wondering, completely whiffed, if they let other talented players slip through their fingers, chasing a guy who couldn't stay healthy and couldn't produce when he was healthy. Look at who went immediately after. The Seattle Seahawks took guard Gray Zabel at number 18. Zabel started all 17 games for the NFC number 1 seed Seahawks past season, all 17. Durable, reliable. Then at number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers grabbed wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, who's already emerging as one of the most exciting young receivers in the country. The Bengals passed on both of those guys to take Stewart, and right now they have to be feeling some serious regret about that decision. That's the danger of the under 17. That's the tightrope we're walking. But here's where my optimism's in and why I genuinely believe the Lions are positioned to make a much smarter decision than Cincinnati did. Brad Holmes has proven he can evaluate talent at this range. Look at what he did in 2023. It picked up number 18. He took Jack Campbell. Everyone questioned that pick. Everyone. The media was clowning us. Other fan bases were laughing. Analysts were saying we reached. And now Campbell just made his first Pro Bowl, and he's a legitimate first-team All-Pro candidate. That's the difference between guessing and knowing. That's the difference between chasing names and drafting players who fit your system. The history at number 17 over the past 5 years shows us some clear patterns. In 2024, the Vikings took Dallas Turner at this spot. His rookie year was rough, just 3 sacks, and Vikings fans were panicking. But year 2, he exploded for 8 sacks, tripled his tackles for loss, forced 4 fumbles. Sometimes these defensive linemen need time to develop, need time to adjust to NFL speed and NFL competition. The question is whether your organization pays development system to maximize that talent. I believe the Lions do. I've seen what Aaron Glenn did with our defense, and even though he's moved on, the foundation he built, then you go back to 2023 and the Patriots taking Christian Gonzalez to 17. A lot of Lions fans wanted us to take Gonzalez because of our corner. He's now a Pro Bowler, team All-Pro, and would I love to have him? Absolutely. But we took Campbell at forever 18, and he's been phenomenal. Both teams won in different ways, consecutive picks. That's what good drafting looks at this range. You don't always get it perfect, but you get players who contribute, who develop, who become core pieces of your roster. The 2022 draft at number 17 saw the Chargers take guard Zion Johnson. He's been durable, playing in almost every game over 4 seasons. His grades aren't elite. He's been a solid, steady presence on their offensive line. Not a star, but not a bust either. That's sometimes the reality at this pick. You might not get the Pro Bowler, but if you get a multi-year starter who provides stability and consistency, that's still a win in today's NFL, where finding reliable offensive linemen is incredibly difficult. And then there's 2021, which serves as the ultimate caution. The Raiders took tackle Alex Leatherwood at the 17, and it was absolute. He started all 17 games as a rookie, struggled throughout the entire season, and the Raiders waived him after just 1 year. 1 year for a first-round pick. That's franchise-altering bad decision-making. Leatherwood bounced around practice squads, Bears, Browns, and Chargers, never caught on anywhere. Complete bust. And taken right after him at number 18 was Jalen Phillips, who Lions fans know very well, who's been a productive pass rusher in the league and just recorded his first Eagles sack against us after being traded from Miami. So what does all this history tell us? What's the lesson here for the Lions heading into the 2026 draft with the number 17 pick? It tells us that this position can absolutely deliver impact players at positions of need. It tells us that there will be elite talent still available on the board. It tells us that patience, proper evaluation, and cultural fit matter just as much as raw talent. And most importantly, it tells us we cannot afford to make the same mistakes Cincinnati made with Stewart. We cannot reach for a position of need if the player doesn't check every single box. We cannot ignore injury history, character concerns, or developmental red flags just because we're desperate to fill a hole on the roster. I'm optimistic about where we're headed because I trust Brad Holmes' scouting department. I trust that we've learned from watching other teams succeed and fail at this exact draft position. We need pass rush help, yes, but we need we need someone who's going to be available, who's going to produce, who's going to fit our culture. If that player is there at number 17, we take him without hesitation. But if he's not, if we're forcing it, if we're reaching because we're panicking about our needs, then we explore other options. Trade back and accumulate picks. Take best player available and address pass rush in free agency or later in the draft. Stay flexible, stay smart, stay strategic. The blueprint is right there in front of us from the past 5 years. Good players exist at number 17. Great players exist at number 17. But you have to be willing to do the work, trust your process, and not get caught up in the pressure of the moment. The Shamar Stewart situation is a reminder of what happens when things go wrong, but it's also a reminder that we have the capability to avoid those mistakes if we see discipline. This Lions team is built for sustained success, and this draft pick is another opportunity to add a piece that keeps competitive for years to come. I believe in this front office, I believe in this coaching, and I believe we're going to nail this pick and continue building special. Now, I want to hear from you. Does the Shamar Stewart situation concern you about taking a defensive end at the team? Do you think we should trade back and accumulate more picks, stay put, and take our guys there? What position would you prioritize if you were making the call for Brett? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I genuinely want to know where Lions Nation stands. If you found this breakdown valuable, appreciate deep dive into draft history and how it applies to our Lions, smash that button and subscribe to Lions News Fan Report. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update because I'm bringing you this level of analysis and exclusive insights every single day. Share this with your fellow Lions fans who need to understand what we're really looking at with this 17 pick. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of it. Until next time, one pride, and let's trust the process to get us back to championship contention.